Today, Europe is facing a political storm that goes beyond borders and bureaucracies. Poland's recent judicial reforms have sparked an intense clash with the European Union, a battle that questions not only Poland's legal direction but also the EU's authority over member states. At the heart of this crisis are fundamental issues of national sovereignty, judicial independence, and what it truly means to be part of a unified Europe. Let's start with the reforms themselves. Over the past few years, Poland's ruling party has introduced significant changes to its judiciary. These reforms include restructuring the way judges are appointed, creating new disciplinary measures, and increasing government oversight of the courts. The Polish government claims these changes are necessary to root out corruption and improve the efficiency of the judicial system. They argue that for too long, remnants of the old, communist-influenced system have lingered, slowing down justice and tarnishing the integrity of Poland's courts. But here's the twist: while Poland insists these reforms are vital, the European Union sees things differently. EU leaders argue that these changes pose a serious threat to judicial independence, a fundamental principle enshrined in EU law. They claim Poland's reforms give the government too much control over the judiciary, potentially allowing political interference in legal decisions. In the eyes of the EU, a judiciary influenced by the government undermines democratic principles and threatens the rule of law. So, the EU has pushed back, initiating infringement procedures and even threatening sanctions against Poland. For Brussels, this isn't just about one country's legal structure, it's about defending the core values that hold the EU together. So, what's the big deal? Why does this clash matter so much? The answer lies in the very structure of the European Union itself. Since its inception, the EU has been built on the principle that certain values, like the rule of law, democracy, and human rights, bind all member states together. By joining the EU, countries agree to uphold these values, granting the Union a degree of oversight. Yet, at the same time, the EU also recognizes each member state's right to govern its own affairs. But where exactly does the line fall between respecting national sovereignty and upholding EU principles? This is the crux of the conflict. For Poland, the judicial reforms represent an exercise of sovereignty, a national government making decisions for its people without interference. But for the EU, allowing Poland to reshape its judiciary without oversight could set a dangerous precedent, where one country's actions undermine the collective values that the EU relies on. In other words, if Poland's reforms go unchecked, what's to stop other countries from following suit? Could this weaken the very foundation of the European project? And this isn't just theory. The EU has taken concrete steps against Poland, including withholding funds and limiting Poland's role in certain EU decisions. This has led some in Poland to accuse the EU of overreach, claiming Brussels is using financial leverage to force Poland into compliance. The Polish government has framed the EU's actions as an attack on national sovereignty, accusing Brussels of trying to dictate the country's internal policies. To some, this crisis is less about judicial reforms and more about Poland's right to determine its own path. But what about the Polish people? Inside Poland, opinions are divided. Many citizens, especially younger Poles and those in urban areas, view EU membership as essential and worry that the judicial reforms could alienate Poland from Europe. Others, particularly those who support the current government, feel that the EU is overstepping, and they see the reforms as a necessary step to reclaim Poland's national identity and independence. The country is essentially split between those who want a closer alignment with EU values and those who prioritize national sovereignty. Beyond Poland, the EU faces a larger dilemma. If it's too lenient with Poland, it risks weakening its credibility and opening the door for other countries to challenge EU norms. But if the EU pushes too hard, it risks fueling Euroscepticism, not just in Poland but across Europe. In fact, this tension is symptomatic of a wider issue. As the EU grows, balancing centralized authority with the rights of member states has become increasingly complex. The Poland-EU standoff has put the Union's flexibility and adaptability to the test. So, where does this leave us? This crisis is more than just a legal dispute, it's a reflection of Europe's struggle to define itself. Will the EU prioritize unity over national autonomy, or will it allow member states more leeway, even if that means risking divergence from core values? As this battle unfolds, the future of European unity hangs in the balance, and the outcome could reshape the continent for years to come. What do you think? Should the EU enforce its principles even if it means clashing with member states, or should countries like Poland have the freedom to govern as they see fit? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on this evolving story.